A surviving soldier.
Hello, everyone. Can you believe that there is a man who fought alone against the US military for almost 30 years after World War II, without knowing when the war ended? His name is Onoda Hiro. How did he continue to fight for 30 years without knowing the war was over? Mr. Onoda enlisted in the army in 1942 when he was 20 years old during the World War II. 2 years later, in December 1944, he was sent to Lubang Island, 150 kilometers southwest of Manila, to fight in the Philippine defense. From the vicinity of Lubang Island, he could see at a glance the status of Allied warships and aircraft from their home port in Manila, making the island strategically very important. He was taught by his superior at the time that, no matter what happened, his superior would be there to pick him up, and that he must not blow yourself up in order to attack. However, the Japanese forces were quickly overrun throughout the Philippines by the US military, which boasted overwhelming military power. And Mr. Onoda was left behind on Lubang Island after the war ended. Although the Philippines gained independence from US colonial rule soon after the war, an agreement between the two countries allowed US troops to remain in the Philippines. Onoda interpreted this as continued US control of the Philippines and the Philippine government as a puppet government of the US. He decided to continue to fight against the US military by repeatedly attacking US forces on the island, sniping, and conducting disturbance attacks, totaling more than 100 attacks. In combat actions that continued for about 30 years, it is estimated that more than 30 Filipino soldiers, police officers, civilians, and US troops in the Philippines were killed or wounded. During that time, even though Onoda was called upon several times to surrender, he recalled his teachings at Army school and believed that the end of the war was a deception and that Japan would surely defeat the US forces. However, in February 1974, 29 years after the war, he was discovered by Suzuki, a 23-year-old adventurer looking for surviving Japanese soldiers. Suzuki told Onoda that Japan had lost the war and suggested that they return to Japan together again. Onoda told him that his mission would be terminated if his superior's orders were lifted. The next month, his superior at the time traveled to Lubang Island and ordered Onoda to terminate his mission, and Onoda finally surrendered. Then, on March 12, 1974, Onoda returned to Japan from the war after almost 30 years. I do wonder how he felt fighting alone for 30 long years. If you were him, would you keep fighting or would you surrender immediately? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in my next video.